It's me again. In our previous talk, we discussed the act of kindness. Sometimes I feel like a preacher, but I'm not a preacher. I'm just telling my story. And I'm sticking to it. Sometimes I rewatch my videos, and the reason why I said I feel like a preacher sometimes because I watch my own videos and I say, "Amen, brother, amen, preach." If you know me, you know I'm not the most religious guy in the sense that I'm present in church every Sunday, or I believe church is within you. No matter what you believe, you grow up with those morals and values. Even if you stray away, you have some place to come back to. In religion, in the Bible, and all that good stuff, they talks about, give examples of acts of kindness and this and that and the other. They even talk about splitting the baby, but that's a whole other thing. And that was a true act of kindness and love. Because there's no more love than you said you're willing to give up something that you love because someone else is trying to fight you for it, and someone says, "Hey, we gonna settle this right now. We gonna give both of you half, not half of the proceeds of a house, not half of the proceeds of a car, but literally half of a baby." The true act of love and is saying, "No, I'd rather you have the baby than me if it means risking the life of that child. I don't want to risk the lives of these young people." Like I said before, I do a lot of this for selfish reasons. I don't want another family member to be a victim to unnecessary gun violence or random acts of violence or attacks, when we can bring awareness and maybe change the hearts and minds of a couple or one. It might be that one that had it in their back of their mind that they want to pull off an attack today or tomorrow that kills 30 people, and one of which is a family member of ours. This is going to be part 2 of the act of kindness. There were several acts of kindness that I was on the recipient end. So it's not all about me being kind to others, but others being kind to me. I moved in my subdivision about 13 years ago. As you may know, that I moved to Atlanta metropolitan area because of Hurricane Katrina, and my family was displaced. I had no idea that I would be in another city, let alone another state. I used to come up here to Atlanta to party, have fun, and watch my Saints whip up on them Falcons. But it was all in good, clean fun. I didn't have no animosity against, still to this day, to those Falcons fans. Actually, some of my best friends that I've met since I've been in Atlanta are Falcons fans. We have actually become friends because of the rivalry. Because the mutual love for our teams and the rivalry itself and the fun of the game, and it's just something of true enjoyment. Based on the history of both teams, which is kind of ironic, we both look forward to playing one another because back in the days, both of our teams absolutely sucked. Neither one of our teams look forward to a postseason because you have to have enough wins to get to the postseason, and the only games that we would possibly win is against each other. I enjoy the games. I enjoy the love and the passion that the fans have for their team. I have the same love and passion about my community and about my loved ones. Some of it is to a fault. I admire people that have that sense of family and love and display it and have their loved one, their feelings on their shoulder and willing to show it and risk it all. Like I said, I moved into this neighborhood about 13 years ago. One of the reasons why I moved in this subdivision is because it was a small community. It only had about 50 lots. And at the time, this was back in the 2008s when I moved here. That was the time of the downturn when the mortgage industry went to crap because of all these bad loans they had put out on the market. People that couldn't afford houses were put in houses, and they were put on these bad loans, whether it was balloon notes or rigging up the paperwork to make them to be able to afford it on paper. It might be good when you initially do it. Hey, I got my house, but then if you can't afford it and pay for it when the water heater breaks and you have to make a decision between paying your mortgage or fixing that water heater, your kids need hot water. Which one are you going to choose? The reason why I mentioned that is because I was leasing at the time, and I said, instead of continuing to lease, let's go ahead and buy. The reason why I leased as long as I did, about 2.5 years, is because one of the reasons is because I want to make sure that I want to make Atlanta home for the long term. The subdivision I was living in before was huge, and I had an incident where one of my daughters and her little friend, actually her mom is like a sister to me. I know no different. See, to me, family is not about DNA, it's the people that you love. Just like your spouse is family and your spouse do not have the same DNA. I look at family the same way. Well, when I moved into this, the situation that we had was that the two little girls was playing in the backyard and they kind of wandered. And all these, the smaller you are, the bigger things look like. And so they wandered. They had no fencing in between each house. So you can wander from from house to house, backyard to backyard, and get kind of confused, especially if you're playing and you're not unfamiliar with the area. We looked in the backyard, the kids were just playing back there, and all of a sudden, our daughters were missing. We searched through the neighborhood, knocking on doors, going through backyards, to look for them. Good thing we eventually found them. But when I spoke to the girls, they said all the houses looked the same, and we just didn't know what we were. That was kind of a defining moment for me, and I said, I need to know my neighbors. I need to be in a subdivision that's small enough that I can put out the alert that every neighbor knows my child and I know my neighbor for the most part. Some people are private, so you're not going to have the same relationship you may have with one that you have with another. But at least you know that they know your vehicle, they know you, that at least you're somewhat familiar. Well, when I decided to buy in this subdivision, now it was 50 lots in the subdivision initially, and there were only about 30 houses built. What was appetizing to me also was not just the small community, but I thought I was getting a good deal on the home. For a minute there, right after, it didn't seem that way, but right now it was the best investment I ever made in my life. Not because of the equity I may have, but because of the relationships I built because of moving into this subdivision. One of my neighbors has 2 kids, and I admire him a bunch. Not only do I admire him, I admire his wife. I admire their bond and their same goals to raise their kids and give them the best that they can give them. I remember not long after I met him, it was only a few months in, and it was Christmas. He came to my house with a Santa's bag full of gifts for my children, for each and every one of them. He's just been that type of person through the years. He coached soccer at the time, and I had about 4 kids. I had 4 kids in the age range that he was coaching. Not only did he coach one team, he coached 2 teams. I didn't know much about soccer coming up in the lower 9th ward of New Orleans. We wasn't exposed to soccer like that. Plus, I wasn't an athlete. Growing up, I had asthma, had terrible hands, so sports wasn't that appealing to me. I wish soccer was available to me when I was a kid because my feet aren't that bad. But I still didn't have much of a win as a kid. As a kid, I grew up with asthma, and I actually became best friends with my best friend because of it. He had asthma, I had asthma. In 4th grade, we were in the same class together, and people with asthma, we didn't have asthma pumps back then. So they put both of us on the bench and gave us some board games and other stuff to play while the other kids were running around. We developed a great friendship because of that time we had together, and his mom died soon afterwards. It made our bond go from friendly to best friends because the hurt that he was going through, I could relate in some type of form or fashion. Because see, a couple years before, I had lost my best friend. My best friend Jesse was playing on the levee in New Orleans. His car went down the levee. He followed it. He followed it to the edges of the Mississippi River. He stepped in what he thought was mud, but was actually a sinkhole. And he drowned. So it was kind of like me finally getting another best friend, but what brought us together was death. Because I knew the pain of losing someone that was close to me, and he knew the pain of losing someone that was close to him. We became great friends through the years, and I too lost him years later. See, I lost him at the tender age of only 31. His son was in 4th grade at the time. And when we met, we were in 4th grade and his mom was 31. His mom died from heart failure. He died from heart-related issues. Sometimes it's been hard for me to get extremely close to someone because of the loss, the fear of loss. So we're moving into this subdivision. I was being friendly with Coach, but in some type of way, people fail me or die on me, and I don't want to know the pain of either one. So sometimes I'm a little bit standoffish, even though I'm very nice and accommodating, or willing to do something for someone, but I don't let too many people get too close. I believe in quality, not quantity, so I'm not the person that hang with a bunch of people. I can be friendly to a bunch, but people that I let really get close to me is far and in between. So when someone brings a satchel of gifts for my kids, that's my soft spot. As we went on, he ended up coaching my kids, 4 of my kids in soccer. I admired him for just a stand-up man he is. He says what he means what he says, and it's all coming from a genuine place. Because of him, I kept my kids in soccer, and soccer is one of the best things for my youngest son. He really took to soccer. He ended up, after playing park ball under coach's tutelage, he went on to play throughout high school. Coach actually became part of the coaching staff after I realized there was a vacuum at my son's high school where they were left without a coach. I called him up just on a whim and said, hey, they need a coach at the school. Would you be up for it? And he did it. See, he had a busy schedule already, and I don't know if you coached before, but it's more than just that hour, couple times a week, and an hour at the game on Saturday. You have to deal with different parents and different family backgrounds and opinions, and being critiqued at the job you're doing is not as easy as those 3 hours that a parent may think that he's investing per week. See, Coach took it very seriously. He studied the game of soccer. I watched his young son play soccer and was great at it. His son would score one score after another, and if you're familiar with soccer, scoring is not the easiest thing. It's not like football where you're going to see 56 on the scoreboard. I admired him for the job he was doing. I would see 20-something kids that he's coaching at one time, and my best recollection, I don't remember assistant coach. His wife was right there being team mom. You know, his young daughter would play soccer also. But his young daughter's passion was dance. My daughter and his daughter became fast best friends. We look at each other's families as not just neighbors, we are family. Like I said, family is not all about DNA. Family is what you make it. Just like my children, all my children are my children because I say they're my children. And if you don't like it, that's your problem, not mine. I admire him for several different reasons, and I followed his footsteps. He was a coach. When my daughter became old enough, I became a coach. If he could do it, I could do it. When I first moved in this subdivision, he became a board member and soon became the president of our HOA. One day he made that call that I made to him, but he made that call before I made the call to him about soccer at my son's school. And he called me because there was a vacancy on the board and he asked would I fill in. I thought about it for a second and jumped to it because of the person that was asking me. I stayed on the board from time to time. I never was elected, I was appointed until recently. See, there was a new election coming out and he wanted to have new blood and wanted to go by the bylaws which says everyone has term limits. He encouraged me to stay on the board and actually be president. At the time, I had a lot going on with my family life, so I really kind of didn't want the job. But he said, Eddie, it's time for you to fulfill your vision. Reluctantly, I did. I'm glad I did. Sometimes you don't understand things when things happen, but they need to happen because it's in your cards and you just don't know it yet. See, because I became HOA president, when my daughter became a victim, that title carried weight. When there was an election coming up, I reached out to different officials. And because I said who I was, and because of the person that referred them to me, it was a combination of the both, I was able to get my foot in the door, but we have have made a very close relationship between an elected official, not gonna say the name, not gonna say the title, but because she sees what's in here. I invited her to a board meeting and she is genuine. But going back to time, I usually don't say names. It's a kind of slip of the tongue. But because of him, I have been able to make some changes that are needed in the community. And it was at the right time because I never imagined in my wildest dreams that my daughter would be attacked at school. Years ago, in my wildest dreams, I would never think that my daughter would be shot while going out to a club at the tender age of 18. I never in my wildest dreams believed that my son would be in a situation where he would be facing 20 years. But it happened. I appreciate those acts of kindness because those acts of kindness have put me in a position where I can possibly, no, not possibly, that we, because it's not me, we will make changes. Like I said in one of my previous videos about coming to America, when he was talking to his love interest and he said a quote and she said how intelligent he is and this and the other, he said, "This is not me, this is Nietzsche." So the stuff that I speak about is not me. Just like the story I told about someone else's story. I'm just a storyteller. Some things I talk about me and my experiences, but there was a lot of other characters in my story that made my story my story. Sometimes people don't know the impact that they have in your life and how they mold you to the person that you are today. And Coach has molded me and pushed me in the direction where I am right now. I got a text last night, and sometimes you get a text and you don't, it comes from a place and you get what you need when you need it. It's kind of like going to church and it seems like the preacher is talking directly to you and there's no other person in the audience. Because when a person is coming from a genuine place, they know what you need when you need it. There's acts of kindness all over. There's never too much of it. Let's keep it going. Let's let acts of kindness spread like a wildfire. Let's change people's perceptions, whether it's a perception of who we are because of the color of our skin, which never should be, or because someone is young that think that they're gonna behave in a certain way. Let's help our children to surpass certain perceptions and expectations, because unfortunately people are their experiences and they may have experienced something that you haven't, and vice versa. I don't want to let any of this stuff, this good stuff, this good lessons to go anywhere with me but out to the people that needs to hear it. I think it would be so selfish to take riches and gold and put it in the ground and don't tell nobody else that it's there. When they could have been afforded the ability to buy some food to eat, give it to a charity, do something with it. Don't take nothing like that with you. Don't take wisdom with you. Don't take lessons with you. You're supposed to give it back. Just like someone gave it to you, you're supposed to give it to someone else. Each one teach one. Because it may be a lesson that no one else has. And you just was selfish that you kept it to yourself. Don't be selfish. Let's give it back. Let's treat it like the wave. Let's keep that thing going. All right, I've talked enough. I'm trying to be short and sweet. I'm Eddie Boyd, and you know what I'm about to do? I'm about to do some me time, some family time, and all that good time. Because it's all about enjoying life and appreciating the moments we have. You are valuable enough that I want to have this conversation with you, and I'm selfish enough that I can come back and refer to this video if I need a pick-me-up. It's okay to be loyal to self and do things for selfish reasons, as long as you're not selfish. My name is Eddie Boyd, and I'm signing off, and you have a wonderful day. Happy Indigenous Day.